Hello, 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 and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifesting Magic, the practical way, because there are a lot of practicalities related to manifesting magic. Now, this is something I heard. I was listening to somebody on the way home, and it just really piqued up they were talking about one of the books that I really, really love to read, and it might be The Alchemist. But nonetheless, the conversation led on to discussing whether or not you are aware of your current programming. And by that being said, it means whether or not you understand what you are programmed for right now. So a lot of people don't understand why they keep creating similar situations related to like an old situation, or why they keep having these recurring things happening. And I think sometimes it's so hard to not know the balance between, okay, maybe it's because you're an empath, that's your personality. And then another thing is law of attraction. You're attracting people who are playing out the same personality traits and who are playing out the same roles you've had in the past over and over and over again. And so my question for you is, are you programmed for progress or are you programmed for pain? And a lot of us find that we are programmed for pain. And the reason why we notice this is because it doesn't matter how beautiful or how nice or how great something is that we are experiencing or we have access to. If we are in that situation and we can't see the beauty and the blissfulness and the fullness of the situation, and we find ourselves picking it apart or trying to make the other person a villain or trying to create some type of a negative narrative that doesn't really have full proof related to it, but we can come up with some things that might be true about it. But nonetheless, we find ourselves in this place and you're just like, oh my God, just like all the rest, this happened the same way that happened. You have to take a moment and step back and say, okay, how much of this am I creating, right? Most of it. And it's just the truth of it. How much are we creating on a regular basis of the discontentment that we're dealing with? And most of the discontentment that we're creating on a regular basis is not even having to do with what the reality is around us. It's more so having to do with how we process people, places, and things, and what we learned as it relates to that processing as a child. Because the reason why we go back to childhood is because that's when most of our programming happened, right? That's when we were kind of set on our trajectories. Now, over time, we realize, okay, I'm in charge. So we start to get in charge of this thing of ourselves. But until that happens, we're mostly programmed to feel some sort of pain. And we think because it's a negative thing, our mind's like, no, I don't want to experience that because it's negative. But that's not how the brain works. It doesn't even care. It doesn't care about negative, positive, good or bad. None of that means anything to it. All it knows is this is the pattern that you have in that area, and safety is repeating a pattern because at least you know what the outcome is going to be, right? You know the appropriate level of fear, the appropriate level of feedback, the appropriate level of pushback because you've done these things over and over again. A good example of this, if we want to just be frank about it, is definitely in relationships. If you ever run into people and they talk about all the time how they run into the same type of person, especially people who think they keep running into narcissists over and over again, and that somehow these narcissists are so evil and, they're just being the victim and somebody's taking advantage of them. While a lot of relationships can be victim related relationships, they can be usury. But a lot of that is based on the person who's feeling like a victim or being used, not having a personal constitution. And a main part of that is not actually knowing what they are programmed for. Because when you start to understand that you have reprogrammed yourself in an area where it was a negative response to a positive response, then you know that you are more so seeking pleasure in that environment as opposed to recreating the pain that you've once experienced, right? Relationships are big with that because we look for validation a lot in relationships, right? And we know that if a person is showing some type of behavior, characteristic, or something like that we've seen before, we may either get rid of it because we say, I don't want to have that pattern again, or we let it come into our space because we say, well, this is just the way it is. A part of our brain is saying that. And even though we know it's going to create pain or chaos for us, it's something that is familiar and it's comfortable because the brain knows it. And until you get to the point where you are just like fed up with repeating the same patterns over and over again and not knowing how you're programmed to certain things in different environments, you're going to keep bumping your head up against the same situations over and over and over again. I hear this a lot with people, with the type of people that they attract. I hear this often with people in jobs. Like if you talk to someone and they're always going on, every time they work somewhere, it's not even a matter of a month and they start finding an adversary. So-and-so's out to get me. Okay, at the last position, they were out to get you. In the position before that, they were out to get you. So maybe you are not being attacked. That's a good thing, right? Wouldn't you prefer that? Maybe you're not being attacked. Maybe you are perceiving these things through a lens of pain that you've experienced a long time ago, and your brain is just bent on repeating the patterns. That's very, very common and true. And until you start to like stop it in its tracks and get in front of that thing that's trying to control you and take you the rest of the way, because the brain loves when it knows where to go next, right? It gets frustrated when it doesn't know what the next step is. So watch that in yourself. You're learning something new. You're trying to go on a new path. How frustrated and how exhausted your brain gets when it doesn't know what to do next. But just notice, even if the situation is going to create pain or chaos, if you know what to do next to it or you know how to handle it, watch how much easier your brain is, right? I can think about these things back when I was young and I had poor money habits, right? Growing up. And I remember thinking that a temporary loan was a good thing. They used to give out these loans in New Orleans before payday loans came out. And there would be loans you can like put some of your merchandise, like your personal stuff. So like if you had like a laptop or something like that, you can tell them this is worth $400 and they'll give you a $400 personal loan and supposedly they can come repo it. That's what the loans were like before payday loans came out. And I remember being like 18 and qualifying for those loans. And I saw that as a real way of creating more wealth or abundance in my life, right? But I realized looking back now, that was straight up survival mode. And the reason why it felt so easy for me to go to that as a solution is because I was programmed for pain when it came to finances. Like I didn't know any positive programming. So the fact that this was a negative loan, it wasn't going to be a positive outcome. I was going to pay way more than what I actually took. The loans are kind of bottom of the barrel and like nobody really wants to go to them because they're kind of loan sharky, the people. I already know this going in. So my brain is okay with that. But that is a lot of pain to be okay with, because that is not a good situation. So you have to know the clear line between what you're being programmed for and whether or not you are on your auto programming or whether or not you are creating your responses as your situations unfold, right? So anything that's on autopilot in your life and it's something that causes you aggravation, just dissect it a little bit and see how many times has this particular thing in this particular way happened to me or happened for me or through me or with me? And then how many times have I allowed this situation to get worse or to increase or to expand or to evolve into something that I didn't want to see, but I actively had the option to stop it at the very beginning, but I chose not to. Why? Why am I caught up in this loop of self-sabotage? And it's just your programming. You turn on a computer, it's set to be programmed to play a certain application or to play certain software. You tell the computer what to do before it boots up. So by the time it boots up, it's already too late. It's programmed. It already knows what to do next. The only way to stop that thing before it starts is to stop that thing before it starts, is to, when that programming is not being used, to get in front of it and say, hey, what does this programming do in this particular area? We're approaching this thing. I'm approaching a new relationship. I'm approaching financial issues. I'm approaching a danger zone in the workspace. How do I normally handle this? How does it normally play out? Is it painful or am I creating progress with it? That's so important, right? So just think about that a little bit. Analyze those things. Are you programmed for pain in relationships, pain in a sibling relationship, pain in a mother-daughter, son-father relationship? Because sometimes people just go down these roads. They don't even want to experience what they're experiencing, but they just keep following the road of pain because it's all they know. So you have to get active in your reprogramming to create a mindset shift that allows you to clearly see from like a bird's eye view how a situation is impacting you and where those decisions are being made in a situation that could change the trajectory of the outcome. And then allow yourself, once that happens, to feel the pleasure, to feel the progress, and to be happy in it, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, right? It's like the first time you get a random lump sum of money. I know me, $10,000 from some location so obscure, I would have never thought, right? And I was like, $10,000. I kept looking to see, I remember, in the bank account to see if somebody was going to take it back. But that lets you know that my mind, it was so programmed for a painful financial experience that when a positive financial experience was showing up, I didn't even know what to do with it. I didn't even know how to approach it. My mindset automatically was, let's just hurry up and spend it before it goes away. And that's how we are with a lot of things. We don't even notice that we are looking, seeking, tackling the painful aspects of it, as opposed to looking for the pleasure or looking for the progress. Anyway, hope y'all are having a wonderful, wonderful day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, are you programmed for pain? Are you programmed for progress? Only you know that. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.